You're listening to Insights with Philip Wilson, where the discussion focuses on how to maximize Social Security benefits. Considering there are 567 ways to file and 3,000 rules for filing, it's no wonder that 90% of those who file for Social Security do not receive their maximum benefits. Listen in as Philip Wilson, who is certified in Social Security claiming strategies, outlines what you need to know to get the most from your Social Security benefits.
Welcome to the show. We've been talking the last several weeks about Social Security. The decision of when and how you file for Social Security, I believe, is the most important financial decision that you will make in your lifetime. We've also been talking about the importance of income streams for life. This is the first generation that will spend more years in retirement than working. That's never happened before. People are living longer. We need income streams for life. We need income streams that we cannot outlive. The way I think of it is of an endless asset. It's an asset that will never run out. It will always produce income. This generation needs to be very focused on that. So we've been talking about this decision of filing for Social Security and maximizing your benefits. Over 90% of people filing for Social Security do not receive their maximum benefit. And I just think that's really unfortunate. Now, the filing strategies that we've been talking about in previous weeks, last week I started diverting from that to talk a little bit more about when to file for Social Security, not so much how to file for Social Security. And as you recall, if you listen to the other shows, that most of the situations in life predict how we are supposed to file. Have you been divorced? Are you married? Are you single? Are you a widow? These are all different strategies for filing for Social Security to receive the most income that you can receive. The situations typically drive the filing strategy. But last week I started talking about just the best time to file for Social Security. What is the optimal time to file for Social Security? I get a lot of questions at my seminars about filing at 62, filing at full retirement age, or waiting until age 70. What is best? So we started talking about the different ways to look at that, and I started introducing you to Jim and Sally. And Jim and Sally are a couple that I use as a case study in my seminars to illustrate some of these principles. And the biggest principle that I left off with last time that I wanted to share with you about Jim and Sally is that I want to encourage you to use your assets for retirement, but wait on the Social Security income. This is not a very logical thing. If you remember the numerical example of the case study, it wouldn't be very logical for someone to spend down their assets in retirement while waiting on Social Security. But in general, what I was trying to help you understand is that you need to retire on your assets while waiting on Social Security. That the real value is the lifetime income that comes from Social Security, even to the point of using your assets while waiting on that higher income. Now, the first principle that I mentioned was the decision to retire is separate from the decision of when to file for Social Security. The decision to retire is separate from the decision of when to file for Social Security. So in the case study with Jim and Sally, I contrasted retiring at age 66 and filing for Social Security, or retiring at age 66 and waiting on Social Security. Those are decisions that need to be made separately. But the second one was to retire on the assets while waiting on Social Security. And my third principle is that true retirement security is based on these income streams for life. I've said income streams for life over the last several weeks many, many times. But I just really want to hammer home how important it is that we have income streams for the rest of our life. Income streams that exist as long as we exist. If we have a pulse, they're there. If we don't have a pulse, they're not there. So regardless of whether you live to be 85 or 185, we have a source of income that we cannot outlive. Most people going into retirement today do not have enough assets to be prepared for a long life. Most people that I meet with are just not prepared. They're going to run out of time and saving for assets, and they're definitely not going to be prepared if something were to go wrong in retirement. Somebody to get sick, a medical bill, somebody to die, In those situations, so this income stream for life is absolutely paramount to your retirement planning. And it's the most important component to retirement planning. And it's also what I define as the most secure portion of your retirement planning. The more income streams that you have in your life going into retirement, the more secure your retirement is going to be, because you're never going to outlive that income. I think of an income stream as an endless asset, an asset that will never run out. That's why I base the retirement security on that concept. Social Security is the largest income stream that most people have in their life, and it's actually the only income stream that lasts for the rest of your life. Most people don't have pensions anymore. Employers are phasing those things out, so Social Security is it. That's why I spend so much time in these seminars talking about filing for Social Security, when you do it, how you do it, trying to maximize the income stream for life, calling it the most important financial decision that you will make in your lifetime. So the three principles: the decision to retire is separate from the decision of when to file for Social Security. Retire on your assets, but wait on Social Security. And the third, retirement security, is based on income streams for life. Now, going back to the original question, what is the best time to file for Social Security? When is the optimal time to file for Social Security? A lot of different opinions. There's a lot of financial advisors listening to, if they listen to this show, they wouldn't necessarily agree with my conclusions. So the assumption that I'm making here is that everyone waiting on Social Security is going to live a long life. That's obviously not going to happen. Some people are going to live a long life. Some people are not going to live a long life. But the point I'm trying to make is that whenever I help someone with retirement, I assume that they are going to live a long life. So I believe the optimal time to claim for everyone is age 70. Now, most of the time when I say that, people here work till age 70, and that's not what I said. To me, the retirement planning decision in terms of when you can retire, are you ready to retire, is a very simple one. Financial advisors, I think, make it very complex because they're trying to sell their services and sell their expertise. But to me, it's a very simple planning situation. If you're able to retire before age 70, then you must have enough assets to bridge the time period between when you want to retire and age 70. If you have the assets, go for it. But you also need to have enough assets after age 70 to continue for the rest of your life to handle those emergencies. So the retirement planning question of can I retire, can I not, when should I file for Social Security and so forth, do I have enough assets, all these different things that we focus on, to me is very simple. Everyone should wait until age 70 to file for Social Security. Everyone should wait till age 70 because they are locking in the largest income stream for life. If you have enough assets to bridge the time period between when you want to retire and age 70, then fantastic. But if you don't have enough assets to do that, you're not ready to retire. To me, it's that simple. Now, quite often I'll hear a lot of people at my seminars say, well, I need the income. I need the income. I need to go ahead and file and receive that. Well, that's not a real good reason to file for Social Security. If you need the income, you're not ready. But I believe the optimal time is 70. And the assumption that I'm making is that everybody's going to live a long life. Now, I know some people push back against that and say, well, I don't have very good genes. No one in my family lives past this age. I don't expect to live a long life. I don't want to live a long life. I don't want to live into my 90s. The assumption that I make is that everyone is going to do it. It doesn't really matter to me what your genes are. It doesn't really matter to me what your health situation is. It doesn't matter to me what your family history is. I assume that everyone is going to live a long life because that's the most conservative way that I can help people plan. Obviously, if I encourage someone to wait till age 70 to file for Social Security and they die at age 72, I have not helped them. But I'm okay with that because my biggest concern are people living to 92 or 102. So it's a higher priority for me to maximize the income stream that someone has for their life, not to make a prediction on how long they're going to live. So I believe the optimal time is age 70. The best time to file for Social Security, age 70. Now, do you have to live past age 80 for that to be a benefit? Yes, you do. But I believe the biggest mistake that people make in their retirement planning is that they're a little bit naive on how long they're going to live. 86, my father is 86 and still going strong. Most people don't think of that as old, even today. Well, what is it going to be 20 years from now? We talked a little bit last week about medical advances and various things going on. People are living longer. That is not going to change. What kind of medical advances are we going to have over the next 20 years? What diseases are we going to solve? People are naive when it comes to how long they're going to live in retirement. And there's absolutely no situation in my mind that would call for anybody to retire, anybody to file for Social Security earlier than age 70. I don't know why anybody would not maximize the income stream they have for the rest of their life. Yes, they may not live long enough for that to be beneficial, but if they do live long enough for it to be beneficial, it's going to be very beneficial. So the optimal time, 70. The assumption, everyone's going to live a long life. Obviously, some people are not. But that's the assumption that I make when I encourage everyone in the seminars as far as the best time to file for Social Security. Now, one little footnote associated with that, if you do wait past age 65 to file for Social Security, you will also have to contact them about Medicare. Everyone has to file for Medicare, and typically those premiums come out of your Social Security benefit. So if your Social Security benefit has been delayed and you're not receiving that, you're going to have to let them know, and they will bill you for Medicare, and you would just pay that just like another bill for anything else. Just an important footnote, something that people often overlook when they take this recommendation of extending their retirement plan benefits. So that brings us to break. We'll come back, finish up some other things after the break. Welcome back. Let's continue our discussion of the best time to file for Social Security. The three principles, just let me recap them very quickly. The first principle is that the decision to retire is separate from the decision of when to file for Social Security. Retire on your assets, but wait on Social Security. And the third principle is that you need to maximize your income stream for life from Social Security. That's the most important element to your retirement security. Now, the assumption I've been making is that everyone's going to live a long life. Will these principles help you if you don't live a long life? They will not. But the assumption is that everyone's going to live a long life, because I believe that's the most important thing I should do, is help people when they're planning for retirement recognize how long they could live and what their situation is going to look like if they do live a long life. And maximizing their Social Security benefit is vital to that situation. Now, outside of the break-even strategies, there's another reason why you should consider waiting until age 70. So setting aside how long we're going to live, medical advances, all these different assumptions that you're going to live a long life and so forth, there's another reason that you need to consider. And that's what happens with a surviving spouse. In the example of Jim and Sally, I talked about Jim and Sally were age 66. Now, that would be a little bit unusual for a married couple, because most married couples would not be the same age. The male would be older. But females live longer than males. So it would be very likely in most married couple situations that the female is going to outlive the male. So what? Well, under the Social Security rules that we have right now, if someone passes away, you're allowed to keep the higher of the two benefits, but not both. In Jim and Sally's situation, I mentioned that if they filed for Social Security at age 66, they would receive $22,000 of Social Security benefits. But I didn't say how much of that was Jim's and how much of that was Sally's. If all of that was Jim's and Jim passed away, then Sally would just refile for Jim's benefit as a widow benefit. But that would not be realistic for today. Today, women are becoming more and more important in the workforce. They're more and more important to the household budget. They're earning more money. They're contributing more to their retirement benefits. So it's more likely in today's society that husbands and wives will be 50-50. So what? Well, most people that I meet with going into retirement might be very comfortable with both Social Security benefits when they start retirement. But 20 years later, if they lose one of those Social Security benefits, they're going to be in trouble. And this is a big reason why I conclude that about 95% of people that I meet with are not prepared for retirement. And this is part of the reason. This is the biggest reason. It's not just if someone gets sick. It's because by the time most people will lose one of their Social Security benefits, they've also lost their assets. They've used their assets. And they don't have additional assets to convert to income. So they lose potentially 50% of their income at that time, and it typically happens later in life. And it happens at a time when they don't have a lot of assets that they can turn around and replace that income. Now, it might be surprising to you to know that the largest segment of poverty in this country today is also the fastest growing segment of poverty in this country today, and that's people over age 85. And over the next 20 years, that's just going to absolutely blow up. I mean, the biggest problem that I feel like that our society is going to have to face over the next 20 years is what do we do with all the old people? How do we take care of them? Who pays for their medical expenses? I doubt the government's going to do it since they're bankrupt. So the biggest issue that I'm trying to point out is what I would call planning for surviving spouses. And this is a big reason to wait till age 70, and it's probably the single biggest reason that you should wait until age 70. Again, setting aside how long you're going to live and the break-even and all these different strategies. Most people going into retirement don't have life insurance. The kids are grown, they've dropped those things, they're very expensive. So the only real way that we can protect our spouses is by maximizing the income stream from Social Security. Because when somebody waits until age 70, not only do they maximize their age 70 Social Security benefit for themselves, they also maximize it for their spouse as a survivor benefit. Because remember, under the rules, we're not allowed to continue both benefits. We're only allowed to continue the higher of the two. So maximizing that is really the only real way to help our surviving spouses. So in Jim and Sally's situation, if Jim outlives Sally and their $22,000 of Social Security benefit is split between them, at least Sally can continue the higher of the two as a widow. And this is a big issue. And it's a big issue because I meet a lot of people, especially in the seminars, that are filing for their Social Security early. It's very frustrating to me that they file for it at age 62. I hear a lot of times I don't really need the money, so I went ahead and filed for it and I'm investing it or something. And that's fine. The problem is what happens 20 years later, because that age 62 benefit that's being reduced is also going to be the widow benefit one day for most women. So a lot of people in poverty right now are women and they're widows. A lot of people in this over age 85 category are women. And they're women that didn't start out retirement poor. They just ended poor. They lived too long, they used their assets along the way, and their Social Security benefit is the only benefit that they have to live off of. And they're living in poverty because they only have one Social Security benefit, not two. So I see this as a real big issue in society, and it's the single biggest reason why I spend so much time with this message, either in seminars or on the radio, because I'm trying to help people understand the importance of this. People are living longer. I don't think anybody disputes that. But the only real way that we can protect our spouses is by maximizing the income stream for life. Now, there is one other point that I want to point out to folks in their planning. I mentioned before that a lot of people, when they meet with me, they're just not prepared for retirement. They're not going to have enough time to accumulate the assets they really need. They're going to do the best they can, and I want to encourage them in that way, but they're just going to run out of time. So one of the things that becomes very, very important is, again, to maximize the Social Security benefit. And there's another way that we can do that outside of just age 70, and that is by knowing the advantages of working past age 60. So let me explain for a little bit. Let me give you a little bit of background. When you receive your earnings statement that says this is what your benefit is, how does the Social Security Administration calculate that? And the way they do that is by looking at your work history from age 22 to age 60. And they take the highest 35 years over that time period and average it. And there's some indexing that goes on for inflation. But when you work past age 60, if your income is higher than any of those years, they will recalculate your benefit. Most people working past age 60 would be at the highest income of their lifetime, especially as opposed to age 22. And if you think about someone like a doctor who has good income history, that income history might not have even started until they were 35. They might have 10 years of zeros associated with their Social Security benefit. So there is a huge benefit in understanding when you work past age 60, particularly if your income is at the highest of your lifetime or certainly higher than one of those 35 years, the Social Security Administration will recalculate your benefit. And it is very dramatic. From age 60 to 70, I've seen people have a very dramatic increase in their Social Security benefit. And that really is the best way that I can help them by maximizing that income benefit, because they're just not going to have enough time to accumulate the assets that they need. So that's another important point in the retirement planning that I help with people. People that come to me to talk about these things, I want them to understand the benefits associated and the way that they can impact their Social Security benefit over that 10-year period. The combination of working past age 60, the recalculation together with the delayed retirement credits that the Social Security Administration makes from full retirement age to age 70. Now, two other little issues that I just want to cover today, if I can try to get them in. One issue is the most common question that I receive at the seminars is, if you receive Social Security while still working, what happens? So let me explain that rule to you. If you file for Social Security benefit early meaning before your full retirement age, and you are still working, you will forfeit some of your Social Security benefits if you make over, at least in 2018, $17,000. Most people don't know that. I meet people all the time that file for their Social Security and no one told them this. And the thought process is it's a retirement benefit, so if you file for it early while still working, you're not retired. So there's a penalty involved. That penalty goes away once you reach full retirement age. So regardless, after full retirement age, it doesn't make any difference what you make. You're not going to pay any kind of penalty. So I just want to point that out. And the second question that I want to try to address very quickly is the future of the Social Security situation. I'm getting a lot of questions these days about whether or not Social Security is going to be cut. And what's happening is, for the first time since 1982, the Social Security taxes are not sufficient to support current benefits. And there obviously is a number of changes that Congress is going to have to get around to handling this. But people are asking me if Social Security benefits are going to change. This is also another reason why a lot of people file for Social Security early, because they feel like that the Social Security is going to go away. Well, that's not a true statement, because Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system, meaning that whatever you're receiving is paid by current payroll taxes. So to say that no Social Security benefit will be there is to say that no one in this country is working. I do believe that Congress will solve this problem. They will delay retirement ages, probably raise some taxes associated with Social Security, but they will solve the problem. But I just want to address that Social Security benefits are not being cut like a lot of people think. And that closes us out for today. I do want to mention to you next week I have a new series on college and paying for college. I want to provide some ideas for how parents can pay for their child's college and reduce that cost. And I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to talking to you then.
You've been listening to Insights with Philip Wilson, an Alabama registered investment advisor. Learn more by visiting his website at ssmistakes.com or by calling 205-868-9297.